I never thought I would end up writing something like this, but here I am sharing my story. My name is Jake, and I'm just an average guy with an average life. I married Sarah 5 years ago. We met in college, where love blossomed between late-night study sessions and spontaneous road trips. At first, everything was perfect. We were that couple everyone envied, the ones who shared dreams, laughter, and a deep connection. But somewhere along the line, things started to change. It began subtly. Sarah became a bit distant. She started working late more often. At first, I thought it was just the pressures of her job as a marketing manager. I mean, who doesn't have a demanding job these days, right? But then she began to be less available on weekends, claiming she needed to catch up on work. I tried to brush it off, reminding myself that we all have our struggles. But in the pit of my stomach, a nagging feeling started to grow, a feeling I desperately wanted to ignore. When I confronted her about it one evening, she laughed. "What are you talking about? I'm just busy, Jake." The laugh felt off, almost rehearsed. I tried to shake off the unease, thinking maybe I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I stopped asking if something was wrong and started packing away those thoughts, burying them beneath layers of denial. One night, though, everything changed. I was working late at the office, and when I got home around 10, I noticed her car was still in the driveway. She usually came home hours before me, so I thought maybe she was just catching up on work. But as I walked inside, I felt something was off. The house was quiet, too quiet. I called out for her, but there was no response. I checked the living room and the kitchen, empty. I felt a strange sense of dread wash over me. Then I walked to our bedroom and turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing a sight I never expected to see. Sarah was sprawled out on our bed, her phone in hand, laughing. But it wasn't just me she was laughing with. There was a man with her, a man I recognized as one of her coworkers, Mark. They were in a compromising position, and their laughter turned to shock when they saw me standing there, frozen in disbelief. The world around me shattered in that moment. I felt a cocktail of emotions, anger and betrayal bubbling to the surface. "What the hell is going on here?" I shouted, unable to contain the rage that consumed me. Sarah scrambled to cover herself, her face pale as she tried to think of something to say. "Jake, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you've been cheating on me." I interrupted, my voice shaking with fury. The reality of it all hit me hard. I had spent years building a life with her, and in a matter of seconds it felt like it had all crumbled. She tried to spin a story, claiming it was just a one-time mistake, that she was feeling lost and confused. The excuses poured out of her like a broken dam, each one more ridiculous than the last. But it didn't matter what she said. The trust was gone, and all I could feel was the weight of betrayal crushing my chest. How could she do this to me? I thought we were in this together, through thick and thin. But there she was, lying in bed with another man, laughing like nothing was wrong. The anger boiled over as I stormed out of the room, leaving them both there, stunned and silent. I paced the living room, my heart racing and my mind spinning. I took a moment to breathe, but the emotional storm inside me wouldn't settle. I was shocked, hurt, and furious all at once. It was a whirlwind, and I didn't know how to navigate through it. I had always considered myself a patient and understanding husband, but this was beyond anything I could have imagined. As I stood there, staring out the window into the night, a decision began to form in my mind, a decision that would ultimately shape the course of my life moving forward. I had to think about what I wanted and how I planned to confront the reality of this betrayal. This was just the beginning of a journey that would test my strength and redefine who I was. I spent the next few hours packing the house, replaying the scene over and over in my mind. The shock was wearing off, but the emotions kept crashing over me like waves. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief, and every time I thought about Sarah laughing with Mark in our bedroom, my stomach twisted. I needed to make sense of everything before I confronted her again. After what felt like an eternity, I finally heard Sarah moving around the bedroom. I took a deep breath and prepared myself for the confrontation. My heart raced as I walked to the door, knowing I was about to face the woman I had loved, who had just shattered my world. I pushed the door open slowly, and there she was, sitting on the bed, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "Jake, she started, but I cut her off. "Save it. You've had enough time to think of excuses, I snapped. I felt powerful for a moment, taking control of the narrative after feeling so utterly helpless earlier. How long has this been going on? She looked down, biting her lip. It's not what you think, I swear. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just happened. Just happened. You're saying you just accidentally ended up sleeping with another man. The bitterness in my voice was palpable. You think I'm that stupid? I had always considered myself a rational person, someone who could talk things out. But in that moment, logic flew out the window. I was consumed by the betrayal. You've been lying to me for months, and now you want to play the victim. I deserve better than this, Sarah. She burst into tears, but I couldn't muster an ounce of sympathy for her. I was flooded with anger, and it felt like a dam had broken inside me. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to make her feel a fraction of the pain she had caused me. Instead, I just stood there, fists clenched, trying to process what I was experiencing. I didn't want to hurt you, she pleaded, her voice thick with tears. I thought I could handle it. It was just a mistake. A mistake. The word felt heavy in the air. You don't just mistakenly sleep with someone. That's a choice, Sarah. You chose to betray me. The realization hit hard. The trust we had built over the years seemed to disappear in an instant. I had given her my heart, my loyalty, and she had taken it and thrown it away. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me, mingling with the anger. I had always believed we shared a bond stronger than this. Do you love him? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, she admitted, her eyes darting away. It's complicated. Complicated. That was the last thing I wanted to hear. I felt a surge of rage at her ambiguity. Complicated. You've made it pretty clear where your loyalties lie. We stood there, the silence stretching between us, charged with disbelief and heartbreak. I had always thought that if we ever faced a crisis, we would communicate and work through it together. But here I was, facing a betrayal that felt insurmountable. Jake, please, she said, desperation creeping into her voice. I love you. I want to fix this. Fix this. I interrupted, incredulous. How do you propose we fix it? You can't just erase what you've done. You can't just expect me to pretend everything is okay. My voice trembled with emotion, and I could feel tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I fought them back, unwilling to show any vulnerability in that moment. I needed to be strong. I needed to make a decision. I need time to think, I finally said, the words tumbling out like a heavy stone. I don't know what I want right now, but I do know I can't stay here. I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her there, a whirlwind of guilt and regret. I grabbed my phone and headed out to my car, needing to escape the suffocating atmosphere of our home. As I sat behind the wheel, staring into the darkness of the night, I felt lost. I didn't recognize the man who sat there, grappling with betrayal and heartbreak. The quiet of the car brought me some peace, but the crushing weight of reality settled in my chest. I had to figure out my next steps. I couldn't go back to life as usual, pretending everything was fine. The next few days would be crucial in deciding what I would do. Would I confront Mark? Would I even want to confront Sarah again? The thought of revenge began to creep into my mind, but I quickly pushed it away. I didn't want to become someone I didn't recognize, someone fueled by anger and vengeance. I wanted to make a decision based on strength and clarity, not rage. But what was my next step? I needed to gather my thoughts, and I knew I had to face Sarah again, but on my terms. I didn't care if she cried or begged. I needed space to process this betrayal before making any final decisions. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to regain control of my life, whatever that might look like. I spent the night driving aimlessly, trying to clear my mind. My thoughts raced as I navigated the empty streets. It was surreal how quickly everything had changed. Just days ago, I was a happily married man, and now I was grappling with betrayal and heartbreak. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, one that I couldn't wake up from. Eventually, I made my way to a park that held some nostalgic memories for me. It was where Sarah and I used to come for picnics, where we shared so many laughs and dreams. I parked my car, sat on a bench, and stared at the empty playground. I recalled the innocence of our early days, how we couldn't imagine a future where anything could tear us apart. But here I was, forced to confront the reality of our life together. The first rays of dawn began to break, illuminating the park in a soft glow. The beauty felt almost cruel against the storm brewing within me. I realized I had to confront Sarah again. It wouldn't be fair to her or to myself to leave things unresolved. After gathering my thoughts, I drove back home. The house loomed large as I pulled into the driveway, a stark reminder of the life we built together. I took a deep breath before stepping inside. Sarah was sitting on the couch, her eyes red and puffy from crying. I felt a flicker of empathy for her, but it was quickly overshadowed by the anger and hurt I felt. "Jake," she said softly, looking up at me, "I'm so glad you're home." "Let's talk," I replied, cutting straight to the point. I wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. "I don't want to play games anymore. We need to figure out what's going on." She nodded, her expression a mix. Remorse and fear. "I understand, and I'm ready to be honest with you. Please just hear me out." "Go ahead," I said, taking a seat across from her, my arms crossed, ready for whatever she had to say. "I never meant for any of this to happen," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "When I started working closely with Mark, it was just business at first. I didn't realize I was getting emotionally involved until it was too late. I thought I could keep it from you." Emotionally involved. I scoffed, my frustration bubbling again. "You don't get emotionally involved with someone without realizing it. You made a choice, multiple choices. You chose to betray me." She looked away, wiping a tear from her cheek. "I know, and I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did it. I was feeling lost, like I wasn't myself anymore. I thought I could find happiness in something new." Her words angered me further. "So you thought cheating would solve your problems? You couldn't have come to me and talked about how you were feeling. I would have listened, Sarah. We could have worked on our issues together." "I was scared," she admitted, her voice cracking. "Scared that you wouldn't understand. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I was wrong." "It's too late for excuses now," I said, my voice steady but filled with hurt. "What about Mark? Do you plan on ending it with him?" "I want to," she replied, her eyes pleading. "I want to fix us. I love you, Jake. I made a terrible mistake and I want to make it right." It was a moment of vulnerability and my hardness wavered. I had loved this woman deeply and the thought of losing her entirely was painful, but could I trust her again? "I don't even know what fixing this looks like," I said, feeling the weight of the decision ahead of me. "You've broken my trust and that's not something easily repaired." "I understand," she replied. "I'll do whatever it takes to make it right. I'll cut off all contact with Mark. I'll go to counseling. I just need a chance to prove to you that I can be the wife you deserve." Her words hung in the air, heavy with desperation. I wanted to believe her, but the betrayal was fresh. "This is going to take time, Sarah," I warned. "Trust isn't something you can just ask for. You will have to earn it back piece by piece." "I promise I'll do everything I can," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "I want to make this work. I miss you, Jake. I miss us." I felt a flicker of hope, but it was quickly extinguished by the memory of her betrayal. I had to stay strong. "I need some space to think about everything," I finally said, my voice firm. "I can't make any decisions right now." "Of course," she replied, her voice softening. "I'll give you the space you need. Just please don't walk away from me for good." As I left the room to go to the spare bedroom, I felt torn. I had no idea what the future held for us. Part of me wanted to believe she could change, but another part screamed that I needed to protect myself from further hurt. I lay in the dark, my mind racing with what had just transpired. Could we come back from this? Would I ever be able to trust her again? As I drifted into an uneasy sleep, I realized I was at a crossroads. My decision about how to move forward weighed heavily on my heart, but I knew I had to choose wisely. The path before me wasn't just about Sarah. It was about reclaiming my own sense of self and my right to be loved and respected in a relationship. Whatever happened next, I was determined to navigate through the chaos and find my way back to a life where I could feel whole again. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions. I oscillated between anger and sorrow, grappling with the reality of what had happened. I spent a lot of time in the spare bedroom, trying to process everything. Sarah had given me space, but it felt suffocating. The silence was deafening, and the absence of our usual banter left a gaping hole in the house. I tried to focus on work to distract myself, but every time I sat at my desk, my mind drifted back to her laughter with Mark, the way she looked at him, the warmth in her eyes that now felt haunting. I couldn't help but wonder if she would ever look at me that way again. I had thought we were partners, but now I felt like a stranger in my own home. One evening, I decided to take a walk to clear my head. The streets were quiet and the cool air felt refreshing against my skin. As I walked, I passed the coffee shop where Sarah and I used to spend lazy Sunday mornings. I stopped for a moment, the memories flooding back. I could see us sitting at that corner table, sipping lattes and planning our future, blissfully unaware of the storm that was brewing beneath the surface. But now, that future seemed uncertain. I made my way to the park again, where I sat on the same bench and contemplated my next steps. I had always believed in the institution of marriage, in the vows we took. But did that mean I should stay with someone who had so blatantly betrayed me? The thought of working through this with her seemed daunting, almost impossible. As I sat there, I felt a spark of determination. I knew I couldn't let my emotions rule me. I didn't want to just react out of hurt. I wanted to be intentional about my choices. I pulled out my phone and started to jot down my feelings. Writing had always been a therapeutic outlet for me, and I hoped it would help me clarify my thoughts. Trust is broken, I wrote. Can it ever be rebuilt? Do I want to rebuild it? Is love enough to overcome betrayal? I stared at the words on my screen, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. I knew that the answers wouldn't come easily. Later that night, Sarah knocked on the door of the spare room. "Can I come in?" she asked softly. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to face her, but I nodded and she entered, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I've been thinking about what we talked about," she said, her voice shaky. "I understand that you need time, but I want you to know that I'm committed to making things right." I looked at her, searching for sincerity in her eyes. "You say that, but how do I know you mean it? How do I know this isn't just a phase?" "Because I love you, Jake," she responded, her eyes glistening with tears. "I know I messed up and I can't take it back, but I want to show you that I can change." The sincerity in her voice tugged at my heart, but the doubt lingered. "What does that even look like, Sarah? You can't just tell me you love me and expect everything to be fine. It doesn't work that way. I'm willing to go to counseling to work through my issues. I'll do anything to prove to you that I'm serious about us," she pleaded. Her passion for reconciliation was evident, but still, I felt a flicker of skepticism. "And what about Mark? You say you want to end it, but how do I know you won't go back to him when things get tough?" "I've already told him it's over," she replied, her voice firm. "I blocked him on everything. I want to focus on us, Jake, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Her determination gave me hope, but I couldn't ignore the weight of the betrayal. I needed to see if she could really change. "If we're going to make this work, we need to take it slow," I finally said. "I don't want to rush into anything. Trust takes time to rebuild." "I understand," she said, relief washing over her. "I'll be patient, I just don't want to lose you." As she spoke, I could see the fear in her eyes, fear of losing me, fear of facing the consequences of her actions. But I also saw a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could navigate this together. We agreed to take things one day at a time, to communicate openly about our feelings. I still had my doubts, but I knew I couldn't make a decision about our marriage without giving it a chance. Over the next few weeks, we began to establish new routines. We talked more openly about our feelings, and Sarah seemed genuinely committed to making amends. We decided to attend marriage counseling together, hoping it would help us rebuild our connection. But even as we tried to mend our relationship, the shadow of her betrayal lingered. I found myself constantly questioning her actions, wondering if she was being truthful. Each time she received a text, I felt a twitch of anxiety. It was exhausting, and I hated feeling this way. One evening, after a particularly difficult counseling session, I returned home feeling drained. Sarah was making dinner, and the aroma of garlic and herbs filled the air. I watched her for a moment, recalling the times we had cooked together, laughing and dancing in the kitchen. That nostalgia was bittersweet, reminding me of what we had lost. As we sat down to eat, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. "Sarah," I said cautiously, "are you still in contact with Mark?" Her eyes widened and she shook her head vehemently. "No, I told you I cut him off completely. I would never do that to you again." But the tension in her voice raised alarm bells in my mind. I felt a surge of anger and frustration. I need you to understand that I can't keep doing this. If you want to rebuild our marriage, you need to be fully transparent with me. I am being transparent, I'm trying to be honest. She shot back, her voice rising. I ca. Just erase the past, Jake. I'm working on it. Working on it isn't enough when trust is broken. I countered, my frustration boiling over. You need to prove to me that this is real and not just words. The argument spiraled into a shouting match, both of us feeling hurt and misunderstood. I finally stormed out of the kitchen, leaving her sitting there, tears streaming down her face. The tension had reached a breaking point, and I felt like we were back at square one. In that moment, I realized that while we were trying to rebuild, the foundation was still shaky. I was still grappling with my own emotions, and it became clear that the road ahead would be fraught with difficulties. I knew I had to dig deep and confront not just Sarah, but also my own feelings and fears about our future together. As I sat alone in the living room, I felt a wave of uncertainty wash over me. The journey toward healing was just beginning, and I wasn't sure where it would lead us. But one thing was clear. I couldn't ignore my instincts any longer. I had to stay vigilant and protect myself, even as I walked this rocky path with the woman I once thought I could trust with my life. The argument with Sarah left me feeling more unsettled than ever. I had thought that by confronting her, we could lay everything bare and begin to heal. Instead, it felt like we had opened a wound that would take much longer to heal than I had anticipated. I spent the next few days in a haze, my emotions swinging between hope and despair. I went to work, but even routine tasks felt monumental. My coworkers noticed my distraction, and I did my best to brush off questions about what was bothering me. I felt like I was living in two worlds, one where I was a functioning adult, and another where my marriage was crumbling before my eyes. After a particularly hard day, I returned home late. I could sense the tension in the air as soon as I walked through the door. Sarah was waiting for me, her eyes red from crying. I had seen that look too often lately, and it twisted my heart. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked softly, her voice shaky. I sighed, the weight of everything pressing down on me. "I don't know if talking is going to help right now. Please," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "I just want to explain myself. I can't keep doing this, feeling like I'm losing you." I hesitated but eventually nodded, leading us back to the living room. I didn't want to close the door on the possibility of understanding, even though my heart was still heavy with doubt. "I know I messed up," she began, her eyes searching mine for some sign of forgiveness. "I don't expect you to trust me right away, but I want to be open about everything. I've been reflecting a lot, and I have to admit, I was emotionally distant long before I cheated. I should have communicated that to you instead of seeking comfort elsewhere." Her honesty pierced through the fog of my anger. I had always valued openness in our relationship, and it was clear that we had both failed in that regard. But hearing her say it didn't erase the betrayal. "You still made a choice, Sarah. You could have come to me at any point, I would have listened." "I know. And I'm so sorry," she said, her voice trembling. "I wish I could take it back. I don't want to lose you, Jake. You mean everything to me." As she spoke, I felt a flicker of that old warmth I had for her, but the shadow of doubt still loomed over us. "What do you want from me? What do you think I should do?" "I want you to give me a chance to prove I can be the wife you deserve," she said, her eyes pleading. "I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild our relationship. I'll cut off all ties with Mark for good, but I need you to be patient with me. I'm willing to work on my issues. I just need to know you're willing to try too." Her vulnerability was striking, and I could see her pain reflected in her eyes. I wanted to trust her, but I couldn't shake the fear of being hurt again. "This isn't just about you, Sarah. I need to know that you're willing to put in the effort, not just for yourself but for us. I want to believe that you can be honest and transparent with me moving forward." "I am committed to that," she replied earnestly. "I'll show you, Jake. I don't want to lose you. I'll go to counseling, I'll share my thoughts and feelings, and I'll keep you updated on everything. Just please give me a chance to make it right." Her words resonated with me. They were the promises I had longed to hear, but could I trust them? "It's going to take time," I warned her. "And I'll need to see actions, not just words." "I understand," she said, relief washing over her features. "I'll do everything I can to earn your trust back, I promise." As we sat together on the couch, I could see the flicker of hope in her eyes. It felt like we were standing on the precipice of something profound, but I was still filled with uncertainty. The journey ahead would require both of us to be incredibly honest and vulnerable, not just with each other but also with ourselves. Over the next few weeks, things began to shift. We resumed our counseling sessions, and Sarah seemed genuinely committed to change. She was more open about her feelings, and I tried to reciprocate, even though it felt vulnerable and terrifying. We started to have deeper conversations about our lives, our dreams, and our fears. But just as things felt like they were improving, I received a text from an unknown number late one night. My heart sank as I opened it. It was a message from Mark. "I don't understand why you're putting up with her lies. You know she's still with me, right?" Anger surged through me, hotter than anything I had felt previously. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Did she not cut him off? Had she been lying to me again? My hands trembled as I typed a response. "Leave us alone, you're not a part of her life anymore." I quickly brought the phone to Sarah. "You need to see this," I said, my voice tight with fury. Mark texted me. Her face paled as she read the message. "I can explain," she stammered, panic setting in. "I swear I cut him off. I don't know how he got your number. Is this some kind of game? Are you still seeing him?" I challenged, my voice rising. "No, I'm not," she insisted, tears welling in her eyes. "I've been trying to be honest with you. I thought I was done with him. I didn't want to keep dragging this into our lives." The feelings of betrayal washed over me again, and I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. "If you're serious about us, how can this still be happening? You promised me you cut contact." "I thought I did, I swear. I'll do anything to make it right," she begged. The anger overflowed, but at the same time I was crushed by the realization that this might be the end. "I can't keep doing this," I said, my voice breaking. "I don't know if I can trust you anymore. I feel like I'm constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop." "I'm sorry, Jake. I never wanted this," she cried, but I could hear the desperation in her voice. I stepped back, feeling the weight of the situation crash down on me. The future I thought we could build together felt so far away now, and I had to ask myself whether I could truly forgive her and move forward. In that moment, I realized I had to make a choice. I couldn't keep going back and forth between hope and despair. I needed clarity, not just for her sake, but for my own. I had to decide whether to continue fighting for our relationship or to walk away for good. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew that now more than ever, I had to trust my instincts and protect my heart. The confrontation with Sarah over Mark's text left me feeling utterly drained. I sat on the edge of the couch, my mind racing as I absorbed everything that had happened. Here I was, fighting for a relationship that felt increasingly fragile, and I couldn't shake the nagging fear that I was merely prolonging the inevitable. "Jake, please," Sarah pleaded, her eyes pleading. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I'm trying, I swear. I didn't respond to him. I was done. Please believe me." But trust was a fickle thing, and mine was hanging by a thread. "I want to believe you, Sarah, but how can I? You've said the same thing before." I felt the tears prick at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I needed to remain strong. "I know I've made mistakes. I was foolish and selfish. I never wanted to hurt you. I just got lost," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But I love you, Jake. I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes." The desperation in her voice tugged at my heart, but it only fueled my anger. "You say that, but it never feels enough. You've hurt me in a way I can't just overlook. If you really want to make this work, then you need to be completely honest with me. No more secrets, no more lies." "Okay," she nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I promise, no more games." After a long silence, I took a breath and decided to lay everything on the table. "I can't keep living like this, waiting for more lies to surface. If we're going to try, I need you to show me that you're committed, truly committed. I don't just want words, I want actions." "I will," she said fervently. "I'll cut off any remaining ties with Mark, block him from everything. I'll share my phone with you. I'll do anything to earn your trust back." Her promise was a glimmer of hope, but I remained cautious. "No more contact with him, and I want to see the evidence of that. I need to know you're not hiding anything." She nodded vigorously, and her eyes were pleading. "I'll show you everything. I don't want to lie anymore. I just want you back." As we sat in the dim light of the living room, I felt a flicker of resolve within me. I still loved Sarah despite everything that had happened, but I also knew that love alone couldn't repair the damage. It would take time, commitment, and an honesty that had been absent before. In the days that followed, Sarah kept her word. She deleted Mark's number and blocked him on social media. She took screenshots of her blocked contacts and sent them to me, a small gesture that helped ease some of my anxiety. I appreciated her efforts, but I also knew that actions would speak louder than words for a long time to come. We continued our counseling sessions, and I began to open up about my feelings of betrayal and fear. The process was grueling. It felt like peeling back layers of pain, revealing raw emotions I had buried deep down. But with each session, I could sense a shift. We were learning to communicate better, to express our fears and vulnerabilities without resorting to anger. One evening, after a particularly intense session, we sat on the couch together. I turned to her, feeling a sense of calm. "I'm still scared, Sarah. I don't know if I can trust you completely yet." "I understand," she replied softly. "I'm scared too, but I want to rebuild what we had. I want to be better for you and for us." As we talked, I felt a flicker of hope. We were no longer just going through the motions. We were both invested in healing, but I still had one lingering question in my mind that needed to be addressed. What happens if this happens again? If you get tempted again? She took a deep breath, looking me straight in the eye. "I will fight for you and for us. If I ever felt that way again, I promise I'd come to you before. Acting on it, I'll communicate. I want to be better, Jake. I'll never want to hurt you again." I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her words settle in my heart. It wouldn't be easy, and the scars of betrayal would take time to heal, but I was willing to give it a chance. We began to carve out new experiences together, date nights, small adventures, and even quiet moments on the couch. With each shared laugh and whispered conversation, I could feel the threads of our connection slowly weaving back together. But the road was still rocky. I found myself struggling with moments of doubt, questioning whether I had made the right choice. There were nights when I would wake up, heart racing, replaying memories of her betrayal in my mind. I had to remind myself that healing was not linear, and it was okay to have setbacks in this healing journey. As the months passed, I felt stronger. I learned to trust my instincts and to set boundaries that would protect my heart. I also rediscovered the love I had for Sarah, the woman who had once sparked joy in my life. But I knew that love must be accompanied by respect and honesty. One evening, under the soft glow of fairy lights on our patio, I turned to her with newfound determination. "I'm willing to keep trying, but we both need to keep working at this. We can't let our past define us." "I agree," she said, reaching for my hand. "I'll keep fighting for us, Jake. I love you." In that moment, I knew that although we had faced the darkest of storms, we were slowly emerging into the light. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but we were taking it one step at a time together. And as I sat there, hand in hand with the woman I once thought I would lose, I realized that healing was possible. We were both learning, growing, and finding our way back to each other, one honest conversation at a time. It wouldn't be perfect, but it was real, and for now, that was enough.